Welcome back here on the Senior Network. We were discussing with Natalie Lucas hearing aids and the cost and how to reimburse and pay for them. And you had mentioned insurance. It's changing in that environment.
It has traditionally been very rare for people to have an insurance benefit. Some insurance coverage we would see regularly, like a Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Right.
But the vast majority of people coming through the door did not have any benefit. And I think specifically because the medical community is waking up to the importance of hearing loss, because all of these big studies are being funded, we're starting to see more and more insurance companies offering some benefit, which is so helpful to people. And I think people really need to check in with their insurance and find maybe they once didn't have a benefit, but we're seeing more and more on an annual basis that are now starting to offer some degree of benefit, and that's good for people.
Well, and even without the insurance, I know you've mentioned on previous shows, but maybe the viewers that don't know, I mean, you have options to pay, right? I mean, there's plans and different things.
Absolutely. We have a variety of options and use of financing, or, you know, my favorite, 12 months with no interest. Who wouldn't like to spend somebody else's money for 12 months? But there are a lot of options available to people that can get the cost of hearing aids down to something that is manageable. Not only that, but there's a wide range of cost in hearing aids and levels of technology, so that people shouldn't fear, you know, coming through the door and only having very, very expensive options available to them.
Yeah, and you mentioned the different variety. I know that you told us details in the past about that, but I mean, the technology amazes me now at how they've changed over the last 10 years.
It is. I love when I get a good old engineering patient in my office, because they're the ones that really get the astounding amount of technology that go into these teeny tiny little devices.
They get smaller and smaller.
That live inside of a 98-degree body. So, you know, it is quite fascinating what we can do with them, with connecting to our cell phones and wireless connectivity, and there's a lot out there, and those things aid the patient in hearing better in a variety of listening environments. So it's all technology that's being put into these devices that benefit the patient in the long run.
Yeah. Well, Natalie, tell us, so if a viewer's watching now and they think they may be having hearing issues, what's the best thing to do? Call you and come to visit you? Tell us how that works.
In my opinion, whether you think you have a hearing issue or you don't, go find out. The best thing to do is call. There are hearing places like Optimal Hearing, like mine, that offer free hearing tests. So no harm, no foul. You go find out, you learn something new that day, and then you know where you stand, so that if you have hearing loss, you can learn how important it is to address it and start getting your brain wrapped around that, because we all have to psychologically accept you know, when our eyes go bad or our ears go bad, there's a process involved there. And even if you don't, then you know, and you can do follow-ups on an annual or biannual basis to find out if things are changing.
Well, and that staggering number we talked about earlier was 27 million people. I mean, that's a staggering number to me that are walking around with hearing loss, you know, and don't realize it.
We live in a noisy world.
Very noisy, very crowded, very noisy, very fast-paced.
Sirens and leaf blowers and dental drills.
Yeah, I just went on a trip just this past weekend to Williamsburg in a car with a guy who has hearing loss.
Right.
And while he was driving, if I'm on this side, his ear and here he can't. And every time I said something, he'd go, "What was that?"
Yeah.
So I'd have to turn around and look at him.
So he could see your lips.
Yep. But he would be a great candidate, actually. But if I was driving and he was on the other side, there's no problem.
No problem.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's we have that issue in Hilton and Seabrook.
We use a whole variety of tools to communicate, right? We use our eyes to look at faces and read lips. Our brains are filling in information from context.
Right.
And so often people with hearing loss like to kind of try to blow it off because they can make it work. At the end of the day, they might be more tired. They're using more mental exertion to communicate, which is what we want to try to prevent. You know,
and some of us get stubborn as we get older, and we don't want to admit that we can't hear, right?
I see an awful lot of hard-headed people whose spouses are pulling them in through the door by their ear. You know.
Come on in.
You are going to get your hearing tested today.
Honey, you're coming today.
It's my favorite question to ask. Exactly what made you decide today is the day. More often than not, it's the spouse.
It's the spouse. Well, good for the spouse. It's a good thing. Well, Joe, tell us a little bit more. We were talking about, you know, all the things that you offer at Seabrook, which is wonderful. But I know over the last few years, you guys have made a lot of changes.
Yes, we have, and thank God for Hurricane Matthew.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
Think about that.
Tell us.
One good thing that came out of Hurricane Matthew for us was it destroyed most of the signage on the property. The landscaping was completely wiped out of what we had.
Sure.
And we were able to get some money out of the insurance company
That
and
helps.
go out there and really do, we changed the entire front entrance. We've got all new signage throughout, and it's really made a major difference in the landscaping part, because there's been a lot of areas that were never landscaped before but now are. And we've got a beautiful 21-acre campus real close to the beach, and when people come there, they say, wow, this is such a pretty place. It's really nice. And I think we've been hearing that a lot more since this happened.
It's
So
definitely
basically, yeah.
beautiful.
So you're talking about, like, I mean, the storm obviously purged a lot of trees and
Oh,
cleaned up a
gosh,
lot
yes.
of dead trees that should have been down anyway.
Exactly.
And just basically cleaned it up. So what you're saying now, and I haven't been there, and I apologize, I need to get over there, is you can actually see a lot more of the ocean and the view and all that great land that you guys are on, right?
But we've also gone now inside to the lobby
You
of the
have.
Seabrook house.
Okay.
And from there all the way down through to the back door, dining room, all of our common areas have all been updated. New furniture, all new painting and wainscoting and all kinds of great stuff that makes it look like a brand new place. And so it's really great for me to be able to have a place like that to offer, because it's just, and even in the condominium buildings themselves,
Right.
the lobbies have been updated, painted, new furniture, and so it's just been a great move forward, I think, for the Seabrook.
Perfect. So if someone's interested after hearing this wonderful presentation about the Seabrook, should they call you?
Absolutely. As the director of sales, I basically do private one-on-one tours with folks that are interested in
Right.
seeing what we have, and not only explain what we have to offer, but also show them the different options that are available.
Yeah, because I know we've all talked about this. You know, a lot of folks they've retired here and their children are elsewhere. They come home for the holidays, which is around the corner, Thanksgiving, so forth, and then they start figuring out that maybe they need to start looking at a place like the Seabrook, and so that's why I asked the question. Now's the perfect time of year that they need to really reach out and.
Oh, it'll be busy between Christmas and New Year's, because I already have a couple of appointments of people that are, coming to see their kids.
Yeah.
The kids coming to see their parents that
Right.
live on the island, and it's like, well, we're going to kind of evaluate the Seabrook, see if that is the right fit.
Yeah. Now, I know we talked about Thanksgiving. It made me think about on the last show we were talking about this. And I'm always into numbers when I read these stats of things, but I never realized, because we have a high demand at home care too around this time, and it's not just with folks coming to town. It's also that, the ER emergency rooms. I was reading like they have a 20% increase with seniors over Thanksgiving and the holidays, and I never would have even thought about that. But from a standpoint of things like food poisoning and falls. Falls is a big one.
Falls is the big one.
Yeah, and it went on to talk about, all the decorating that starts to take place around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the trees and the lights and the strings and everything, and that's a falls risk, and things tend to happen.
Yep, it's unfortunately it's part of life.
Sure.
And it happens from time to time.
Yeah. Natalie, do you see your business levels change around this time of year at all?
This time of year, October, they definitely shoot up.
Yeah.
And that's because all of our snowbirds are coming back from the
Yep.
summer.
Yep.
The first thing they want to do is come and have their ears cleaned and get their hearing aids checked out. And so this time of year is always busy. I'm trying to convince more and more people that Santa would love to bring some hearing aids. I think that would be a great gift from Santa.
That would be an awesome gift.
Yes, it would. But yeah, we do sometimes slow down around the holidays.
Right.
And sometimes not. It can kind of vary from year to year. But, I try to urge people to think about old Santa Claus when they're looking at hearing aids.
It's a good excuse to, now you need it, let's spend the money now, right?
Right.
Well, Natalie, Optimal Hearing Systems, you've told us before. How long have you folks been in business in the area?
We've been in business since 1961 with the first brick and mortar.
Wow.
So the great patriarch started selling hearing aids door to door because he had hearing loss and he wore hearing aids. It's very much family owned and operated. I'm just an employee in
Very important
family.
employee, though, from
Yes.
a community standpoint.
But we're very proud of that fact that it has kind of stood the test of time and been in business since 1961.
Yeah.
And it's been built on, service from a family who there is some hearing loss in their family, and very, very service oriented and knowing how to take care of people who have hearing loss.
So I'm assuming word of mouth is your biggest referral then.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
word of mouth, and if you're interested, come on in and see me.
Just come visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks so much. Always great information, Natalie. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always glad to be here.
Please take a moment, if you will, email us any comments, questions you may have, and I want to thank you all for joining us here on the Senior Network, where senior care experts come together. We'll see you the next time.